Hi, this is Sue. Welcome to my sewing room and to Susan Amira Designs. I'm going to show you how to make a face mask. I'm going to first show you one so you can see how it's going to look when you're done. My face mask is one that has 3 tucks on the side, each side. It has a cording to attach it to your face. You put this behind your ear and you tie it in the back of your head. It also has a nose bridge, which is very important to keep the face mask on your face. When it slides down your nose, you have to protect your nose so you're not breathing the germs. So the nose bridge we have is very, very supportive and really helps to do the face mask job. We have a lining on the back side of the face mask, and the front is a cotton. Your choice of what fabric you want to use is yours. The elements of the face mask are a piece of, as I just said, a piece of cotton, or if you want polyester, I wouldn't recommend using that because it doesn't really breathe very well, and a piece of lining on the back side. It could be white, beige, whatever color you want. We also are using a piece of interfacing. It's an iron-on fusible interfacing, very lightweight. The recommendation I have is the 911 fusible interfacing by Pellon. You could buy it at Joann's. You could buy it in a package. You could also buy it by the yard. You only need a small piece of interfacing unless you're making more face masks. Another element of the face mask, as I mentioned to you, we'll use cording on mine, which is, like I said, part of the side attachment. This is great because I'm going to match the face mask I'm making today. So this is cording. Another option you have, of course, is elastic, which is a lot of people what they use. We have found that using elastic doesn't allow you to have your own personal fit. You know, it's hard to measure how much elastic you're supposed to give yourself to make sure that it fits across your face well. If you put too much elastic, it'll be loose. If you have too little, it's too tight. That's why we went with the cording, so it's self-adjustable. Another option, if you don't want to buy cording, you can also get a shoelace, some long shoelaces, at least a yard on each shoelace, because you're going to use it on each side of the face mask. Those are the elements as far as the construction of it. One of the most, like I mentioned, one of the most important things is the nose bridge. We're not having cookies today for our presentation, but the reason I brought this bag is on your Starbucks coffee bag, on Tate's cookie bags, there is a wire that closes the bag shut. It rolls down. This wire, I just ripped it off the bag, is perfect for your nose bridge. It's nice and thick and it doesn't break. It was this twice as long and I cut it in half. You only need about 2 or 3 inches for the nose bridge, which is this piece right here on the top of the face mask. I think I've gotten all the elements. For the construction, to make the pleats, I advise you to buy a erasable pen. It's by Pilot. You could probably get it at Target or Rite Aid. You only need one color to do this. The reason why I'm saying this is that in order to make the pleats on the face mask, you need to mark where you need to fold the pleats. And if you do it on the fabric, this is a face mask unpleated, and you can see my little lines of pink and black. This is where the folds will be. So that's one element. If you don't want to buy the pen, you might be able to use some chalk to mark it and then fold it. These are the pieces that I've advised for you to enable to make the face mask. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the pattern so that you know what you need to do. The pattern is a piece of paper that is 9 by 6¼ inches tall. The face mask is going to be sewn with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're going to sew it across, and then we're going to sew it vertically. The elastic or the cording is going to be at the end, each end here. This little square shows where the nose bridge is to be sewn. The 2 dots on the bottom here of the seam is where you're going to leave an opening to be able to turn the face mask inside or right side out. And this way you can finish the face mask. I'm going to go ahead and start making the face mask so you can see how we get this together and how it will be done. The interfacing, like I said, is going to be ironed on to the wrong side of the cotton fabric that you selected. This is the gray and white, and here's the interfacing on the other side. You take your iron, it's really easy. There's no sewing required. I just got to get my iron a little hot, but we'll be able to do it. Once the iron is hot, you iron it on and it stays in place. There's no stitching required. It doesn't come out. It's great. Iron-on interfacing is wonderful. I totally recommend it if you want to save time. Okay. Interfacing is on the wrong side of the cotton fabric. We're going to take our white lining piece right here, and I'm going to lay it against right sides together, meaning the right side of the lining, if it has a design or some sort of textured weave in it, you're going to put it on against the right side of your fabric. That's going to be the front of the mask. So I'll show you this, and we're going to pin these 2 pieces of fabric right sides together so that we can sew the first part of the mask, which will be the horizontal seams. And I'll show it to you once I get it pinned. So here's the piece of fabric with the lining and the interfacing iron onto the fabric. The reason why I have 3 pins here is the top of the face mask. This denotes to me that I sew a full seam across the top. The one with the 2 pins is where I'm going to have to leave the opening for the face mask to be right side out. This will be the first step, and I'm going to go ahead and sew it on the machine. Okay, scissors here. As you can see, I'll bring this close as possible. I don't know if you can see the stitching. I left at least 2 inches opening here on the bottom of the face mask edge, and this top seam is stitched completely across the top. I'm going to trim my lining because it's a little longer than, or longer and wider than the actual fabric. And this way it makes it easier to get things right. Again, I said it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you would take, measure for a 1/4 inch from the edge of the fabric and sew in that depth. Okay, this is the first step. As I mentioned to you, you have 2 options. You can do the elastic or the cording, and this is where we're going to put the cording or the elastic in. And the elastic goes on this corner of on the sides and this. They're going to be connected to each other, but they have to go between the lining and the fabric. Otherwise, it's going to be hanging outside. You need it so that it's in the right side of the fabric. I will show you as I pin. So I'm going to choose the cording because that I found to be the better fit for everybody. You take your cording. I'm going to do it on the sewing machine. You take one end of the cording and tuck it right on the end of of the face mask, side edge. You're going to pin it so that it stays in place. Now you have the other end of the cording. Each of these pieces are a yard. This is a yard for one side and there's a yard for the other side of the face mask. So you're going to take this and kind of curl it up to make sure you get it inside the mask. Otherwise, it's going to be not where it needs to be. It needs to be inside on the right side of the mask. When I pull it out, you'll see why I'm saying this. Or when I turn the right side out, you'll see what I'm saying, this. So now I have my other end of the yard of cording. It's in between the lining and the fabric. And I take, and here's the tail of it, which is good to have. So this way you make sure that you're not, it's not going to come out. And you take your pin and pin it in place. So here's one end and one end. And here's the long end of the cord. So you know you have one side done. What I do is I tuck this big piece inside the face mask, and I put another pin here so it doesn't fall down. Now I have to do the same thing for the other side. I take my cording, which is again a yard of cording or shoelace, whatever you find that you want to use your ties. Again, it could be elastic, the same thing. You would you pin the end of elastic here and here. It'll be a much shorter, obviously, piece, but you can do it that way. You have your little tail of cording and you pin it in place so that it's going to be at the very end of the face mask corner. And you make sure that the cording is between the lining and the front of the face mask fabric. And you take the cording and you tuck it in. So it's all inside the face mask on the right side of the fabric. I'm going to pin it. Again, pin it so that that it doesn't fall out. So it's a nice little pocket, if you want to call it that way. I'm going to take my sewing machine and stitch down 1/4 inch on each side of this. Okay, so this will close up the face mask, except for the little opening we have here to be able to turn it inside out. Make sure that you back tack your seams when you start. Go forward a little bit and then back at least 3 or 4 stitches and then come back down. Otherwise, the seams will come loose, and that's not good because then you have to kind of monkey around with it when you're trying to get it all fixed, and it's just time consuming. It's just easier to back tack when you start and stop, and when you stop finishing a seam. So I'm going to sew the sides up. Okay, so now I'm taking my pins out. As I told you, I have this little hole right here. This is where we're going to kind of pull everything out of the little hole to make sure that we have the face mask outside, the right side out. And everything will pop out because it's fabric, it's not thick. So the 2 or 3 inch hole that we leave on that one seam is good. Now we have all 4 pieces of corners of the cording inside, and the tails are inside the mask, and we have the cordings in a nice round loops. Here's the hole for the face mask to be turned inside out. It's a very good time to press. Pressing is very important in sewing. It really makes a big difference on your quality and the look of your whatever you're making. I know this is just a face mask, but if you were to make a dress or a pair of pants or even a pair of pajama bottoms, pressing is very key. Anyway, I'm pressing this flat to make sure it's nice and flat, so when I sew make the edge stitching and put the nose bridge in, it's a nice looking face mask. this little edge here where the opening is should be, you need to take your iron and just fold in both the lining and the fabric so that it's a nice flat, you don't see the rough edge of the fabric. It's on the inside of the face mask, not on the outside. So you want a nice edge to the fabric. You don't see the opening. This is going to be stitched by machine, so you're not going to be able to tell that that's even there. At this point, we're going to take my sewing machine and we're going to just make a nice little edge stitch on the very top of the face mask. It's going to be right along the very edge of the top, and it's just to support the face mask, and also when I put the nose bridge in, it doesn't have, it's not going to hit against the seams. So I'm going to do that right now. So there's a little edge stitch right here. It's hard to see because of course, but it's just stitched right along the edge of the face mask. Now we're going to take our nose bridge, metal wire. Mine's black. I'm not using the cookie ones right now. You could buy them in bulk if you plan to make a lot of face masks. It's a food packaging company in the local area. Anyway, so we're going to take the nose bridge and slide it through the hole that's in the face mask, and we're going to move it towards the top of the face mask. So it is, you could see it's darker. I know it's hard to tell because the light's on, but you could feel it. It's going to be right on the top of the face mask edge where your nose would be. If you feel like you need to have a pin to keep it in place, you could do that. You could also take your invisible or invisible pen and draw a rectangle around it so you know to sew a nice even stitch around the nose bridge to make it look good. Sometimes you go crooked and it's nice to have a guide. So I'm going to show you that I did that. This is, if you can see the pink and the pins, that's where I'm going to stitch around the nose bridge. So now the nose bridge is in place in its little pocket on the top of the face mask. Now we're going to have to close up the face mask. So this way, like I said, there's an opening here. I press the raw edge of the cotton towards the inside. I press the raw edge of the lining towards the inside, so there's no raw edges of any sort on the outside of the face mask. I would advise to take your pins and close up the hole with your pins. So this way you know you have everything lined up correctly as far as the fabric that's pressed folded along the edge. Edge stitching is a skill that you have to, I mean, it's best to have it the closest to the fabric as possible, edge as possible. If it's not, it's okay, but you just need to close up the face mask. So this is what I'm going to do. Again, it's going to look exactly like what it does on top. It just mirrors that on the bottom of the face mask. Again, I back tack when I start and when I finish each of these edge stitching, just as you would when you do your seams. Your seams again are a 1/4 inch seam allowance. My the pattern I showed you is a 9x6. So this is going to be it's going to be 8.5 by 5 3/4 when it's done with the seam allowances. That's the finished size. I'm going to show you a face mask that has, I think I already did, shows you with the markings of the pleats. It has the pink and the black markings on each side of the face mask. This is what we're going to do now to the one we're making. The pattern, as I mentioned to you, has, marked where the tucks need to be. The first tuck is 3/4, the markings are 3/4 from each, the top and from the bottom. The first one is 3/4 of an inch, and each marking is a 1/2 inch from each of the others. So they're 3/4 and it's 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and then that's on both sides. So there's 3 tucks. So there's nine things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 little marks. So each one will be, you take the first one and then the one goes inside and you go to the next one. I've color coded it because red goes with red, blue goes with blue, green goes with green. So that's how you know you have 3. So I'm going to show you how you mark this. I don't know if I'm going to, I'll do it on the sewing table. I don't know if we can get the camera close enough so people could see it, Alan. That'd be great. So I lay my pattern with it down on top of the, I'm going to show you how I lay it down. I have it little butt it a little beyond the pattern that it is, accounting for the seam allowance. This should be bigger than the face mask because this pattern is included the seam allowances. So I'm going to mark each place where I need to put the tuck. With my invisible marking pen, and then I do it on the other side as well. So both sides have to be marked with the invisible pen, and there's 3 marks to each tuck, and I'll show you how you fold it. The ink disappears with the iron. The minute the iron touches it, it goes away. So I don't know how we're going to be able to, okay.
Do it and then show.
So I'm taking the first mark and I'm taking it to go to the one in the middle is the inside of the tuck. And then so I'm going to the outside edge of the other 3rd mark, let's say of the red set of markings. I do the same thing on the other side. I take the first mark and then this is on the inside and the last one is where the tuck is going to hit, the fold's going to meet. No, I don't think. Anyway, so this is the first tuck. I took the first mark, the second mark's inside, and then the last one is where the fold needs to meet. The next tuck, same thing. We take the first marking that I made, the second one goes on the inside, and I meet the 3rd mark and I pin it. I will get the second one done on the other side and you'll be able to see what I'm saying. So once you see once you start doing it yourself, you understand better how this all works. So here's the back side of it. This is the second tuck on the face mask. And now I'll do the 3rd set of tucks. You take the first mark, the second one goes on the inside, and you take the first tuck and meet the 3rd one. And then you pin it in place. Same thing on the other side. So here it is pinned with the 3 tucks on each side of the face mask. This is what it looks on the other side. So when you sew the tucks on your sewing machine, it's a good idea to have everything in a straight line. Otherwise, the tucks are going to be a little off. So I advise that if you could get your full line, straight line of the tucks across the side, you don't have to stitch it right along the edge. A 1/4 inch away from the edge of the tucks is fine. And I'll go ahead and stitch one side and you'll see. So I only sewed a 1/4 inch away from the edge of the tucks on the outside. And now I'm going to go sew the other side of the face mask with the tucks.
Comes the same for elastic. Same for elastic.
The elastic will act as, if you have elastic on your face mask, it'll do the same thing. It'll just be shorter, of course. And make sure that make sure you pull on everything before you send it out or put it on, because lots of times these can come out. If you leave a long enough tail on the inside, this top stitching will catch that tail, and that's just extra support for those elastic or the cording to come out. Now, I'm just clipping the thread so that there's no tails around here. As I mentioned to you, this invisible ink disappears with heat. So I'm going to iron the face mask so that you'll see that there's no more pink or black markings on the face mask. So this is all gone. There's no pink or black on where the nose bridge was or on the side. What we do to make your ear piece, I'm going to call it that, because I left this in a loop because it makes it a lot easier. You only have to tie it once. As opposed to, if I cut this in half, that means you'd have 2 knots or 2 places to tie it on your head. What I do is I take this loop of cording and I just make 1 knot right here. This is for your ear loop. This takes the place of an elastic piece. I do the same thing on the other side. I take it and I make just a 1 single knot. This one I have to fix a little. Now, this would be, like I said, how you would figure out where you want it to fit on your face. I'm not going to put this one on my face because this is someone else's, but I'm going to show you mine. Oh, here it is. Here's my face mask. I have my knots in a certain place that's most comfortable to me. You take your nose bridge and you put it on your nose. You put the cording around your ear and you say, I think I need to have it a little closer to my ear because it looks like it's gonna not be as tight as I like. So you take again, like I said, you take the knots and move them closer to the ear. And then you set them and that's it. You could, if they come out in the wash, you do the same thing. It's just 1 little loop. These are definitely washable by hand with soap and water, hot water and soap. You could put them in the wash machine. You'd have to put them in a laundry bag. Otherwise, these will get caught up in the mechanism of the agitator for the wash machine. So put it on your nose. Put the cording around your ear, and you can leave it like this. There is an option to just wear it with the loops around your ear and have these dangle.
I prefer it tied around my head because it just feels better. It's recommended to that way because it also brings in the chin. Your nose piece is very crucial to the whole thing. This never falls down. The tie in the back is really comfortable. I wear this all day when I'm at markets, and it works great. So that's about it. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me. And if you need something, you can also email me after today, email or give me a call. I can send you the pattern if you need to have more of an exact piece and to make it correct for yourself. But anyway, that's it. And I hope you enjoy making a face mask in the future.